There's more updates on Cop City. Piglets were attacked in a way that is in an unimaginable way.
With explosives and Molotov cocktails thrown at officers.
This is anarchists at their best, by the way. I mean, straight up. Anarchists doing their thing. Anarchists at their fucking best. No memes, no jokes. Just no showers, no masters, no gods, and no cops, really.
Steve Hasanabi is in Atlanta with the latest. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, George. This is the Defend the Atlanta Forest movement, and they have events scheduled all week. They're mostly environmentalists who've been trying to save a wooded area and have argued that the new training center would militarize police. Police in Georgia this morning say they were attacked in a violent protest at the construction site of the new Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. They say protesters who had just left a nearby music festival threw explosives and Molotov cocktails at police officers and set equipment on fire.
This was a very violent attack that occurred this evening.
Guys, so violent. Yeah, meanwhile, the guys that are saying this straight up murdered one of the forest defenders like a month or so ago. So remember, the guys with all the gear and all the weapons and all the fucking lack of accountability to get away with like doing murders, who did do a murder. Yes, R.I.P. Tortuguita. Okay. Those guys are like, oh man, they were so violent. They were so violent. If only we had a fucking Cop City to train against these violent, subversive, militant Antifa. Bro, this was after Music Fest. This is some cyberpunk Johnny Rocker Boy shit. Yeah.
Very violent attack. And this wasn't about a public safety training center. This was about anarchy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's not. Definitely not about the training center that's, that the government's spending millions of dollars on so that we can more violently apprehend motherfuckers like exactly like them. Yeah, totally. Again, remember, they're the violent ones, not the thumbs.
And this was about the attempt to destabilize.
Authorities say there were more than 100 people.
Isn't better trained police better? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. How many times do we have to go through this? Okay. Better training for police is not necessarily better training so they are like getting trained in de-escalation tactics. Better training for police just means better murder training. Okay. It's the part where, they're getting trained to kill better. They're not getting de-escalation training. They're getting the exact opposite. They're getting escalation training. Understand that, please.
And that this was a coordinated attack on officers and equipment.
During that attack on the officers, pieces of equipment and other items that were at the location for the construction of the Public Safety Training Center were damaged.
Police are seen chasing down people in the woods using stun guns to stop the protesters. Police arrested more than 24. Atlanta's police chief says what happened was not a legitimate protest and that many of those arrested were not from Georgia.
When you throw commercial grade fireworks, when you throw Molotov cocktails, large rocks.
Dude, it's so funny. Dog, you have a pistol and like you used it on them. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh man, they're throwing rocks at us. It's really fucked up. You don't understand. These are not average size rocks. Okay. These are fairly large rocks. And you know, me and the other piggies, we fucking hate rocks. I mean, rocks are terrifying. IDF roleplay? Oh, 100%. Yeah. Well, they do get IDF training, so maybe they got some IDF PR training too. Like, when you're using less lethal weapons, you're still using weapons that can kill. And you use it regularly. So funny. Chatter's being a good cop is how well you manage your morals day to day, not how many people you arrest, not how long you work, not how much you fucking work. I mean, these guys are, they're thumbleliness, do what they do best, crying about being a thumb and not being noticed. Yeah, they're going real aggro with it. They're going nutty with it. They're all getting fucking arrested for like domestic terrorism and shit too. They're getting arrested on like the fattest charges you possibly could do.
Your only intent is to harm. And the charges are going to show that tonight when we make the appropriate charges.
This is the latest in a series of clashes with police. In January, a demonstrator was shot to death by a police officer in one of those clashes. But I have to point out that this new...
Ooh, wait. Oh, wait. I mean, but they're one of those clashes. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. That's not what happened. That wasn't a violent clash. That person was literally in their fucking tent when they got executed by the cops, who very likely got scared because they heard someone else misfire. Their gun discharged, okay? And they got scared and they started blasting in the direction of a tent. That was an execution. That was not a violent clash. But the media, of course, always has to like, it wasn't even a tent. It was a hammock. That's right. Fuck. Even I'm like, doing the propaganda a little bit. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. How are you going to sit here and tell me that these guys need more training to what, like be more violent, figure out more violent ways of doing that, as the media sits there and covers the story from a one-sided perspective, making it seem like there were violent clashes and the cops ended up having to, discharge a bullet that was lodged inside of one of the violent protesters? Like, come on, shut the fuck up. Can we go back to the Cozy Japan streams, please? Yeah, I mean, yeah, like in Japan, police just give you fucking... They're like tourist guides, you know what I mean? They're like tourism guides. They give you directions and shit. That's what they're dealing with.
New police center was approved by both Republicans, Democrats across the city and state, white, black, and brown. Michael?
All right, thank you so much for that, Steve.
Hi, everyone.
Honestly surprised the cops didn't go scorched earth. Getting a firework thrown at you is usually their justification for mowing people down. I guess there's more people watching right now on things that are going on. What is this? Yeah, yesterday, law enforcement descended upon a music festival in the Wilanue Forest. 30 plus people were detained, including at least one legal observer from NLG News. 12 people were later released. It was unclear if this included the LO. LOs wore bright green hats to differentiate themselves. Multiple law enforcement agents descended upon a music festival in the Wilanue Forest. Approximately 30 people were detained, including one legal observer from the National Lawyers Guild. Like, they have hats on. It's like arresting like a press person, which the IDF does all the time, or killing a press person, which the IDF does all the time. It's sick. It's pronounced Weelawney. Oh, sorry. League observers at the event wore bright green hats to differentiate them from other concert goers. Oh, it's wonderful stuff. The NLG Atlanta chapter condemns the arrest of our legal observer and all detainees during the March 5th Wheelanee Forest Defender concert and remains in solidarity with the movement to stop Cop City. Released to LO now, said Jennifer Jones, chair of NLG News Mass Defense Committee. Yeah, look at them hogs trying to run, dude. Oh, yeah, we got some concert goers here. Let's get them. It's funny looking back. I was in Boston 2014 visiting from Finland and was lost on how to get back to a location. I saw cops that gathered in the street and instinctively thought I could ask them. They helped, but only later realized how dumb that was. Yeah. In America here, one aspect of like police in other countries is like you can ask them for help in certain instances. Like obviously ACAB, universal, blah, blah, blah. We get it. They're still like the worst. They're still the worst people out of any like daily job, any layman. But like in America, you go up and you ask a fucking cop anything, they're gonna tell you to fuck off. Okay, they're gonna be like, I'm too busy. Fuck right off. They'll tell you to fuck off, literally. Yeah. If you're white, you got a 50-50 shot of them helping. My friend living in Japan says that you can ask the Japanese cops for water. Yeah, like apparently, yeah, you can like go up and ask Japanese cops for for guidance, and they will help you. they will help you out as best as they can. This doesn't mean like Japanese cops are good. I'm not saying that, but you're always gonna fucking find like good examples or good interactions with cops. It just doesn't mean that they're like that. I was called out a man Karen that was harassing Chipotle workers. He was following me home. I drove up to some cops for help and they detained for 90 minutes even though I came to them for help. They detained you? Nice. When my backpack was stolen in Tokyo, the cops kept insisting I lost it. Lamau. That's funny. Japan is infamous for their detention techniques. Yes, that's true as well. Anyway, this doesn't mean that like I said, this doesn't mean like Japanese cops are good or anything. Obviously not. They can be monstrous in their own way. But it does definitely change the dynamic when the person you're interacting to is not armed to the fucking teeth and also operating under the knowledge that if they kill you, they could probably get away with it and get get death duty. You know what I mean? It does. Like that's a huge difference. And for some reason, it's like hard to explain that to people who just, I guess, never have felt the fear of that. But like the person you're interacting with, if they historically have been able to get away with like paid administrative leave after killing someone, and they're armed to the goddamn teeth, and they are known to immediately escalate with use of force, sometimes use of lethal force, like why the fuck wouldn't you be terrified of that interaction? When you talk to a cop in Europe and they don't have a gun and they have like one cop killing a year, you know what I mean, max, that's a totally different conversation to have, which is what I've talked about before. This was like a moment that like a lot of boot lovers have clipped out of context, where I said like in more civilized countries you can like fight a cop, which they love talking about. They remember we were looking at, I think, France, where like some fucking firefighter was like duking it out with a cop, and I was like, yeah, it's true. It just means that there is like more balance. And Americans can't comprehend that. They're like, what do you mean? That doesn't mean like punching a cop doesn't make you civilized. I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that like people are less fearful of having conversations, interacting, and even getting physical with police in other countries, which implies that police are not infallible murder machines in said countries. That is what I mean. That's an indication of a country being more civilized than the United States of America. Okay? Yes. Throw question marks all you want. I think that police should be held to a higher standard than the average citizen, not to a lower standard than the average citizen. A police duking it out with you, okay? A cop duking it out with you should be held to a higher standard, like boxers are. You know what I mean? Because they are a group of people who have the capacity to remove your freedoms. They have a monopoly on violence. They have a right to kill. So they should be held to a higher standard, not a lower one, which ironically they are held to a lower standard. The ability to fight cops is what Americans think the right to bear arms is all about, right? Yeah, except, you know, the same ones who are like, I want a right to bear arms are also the same fucking assholes who love talking about how cops should be able to kill everyone except themselves, I guess. How did the police presence in Japan feel? Nothing. It's laughable. Like I said, one aspect of an incredibly safe society is the fact that there are no guns. So like even when we were deep in the cut and Connor was like, this is literally Yakuza Alley, okay? Like everyone around you, and I saw the fucking neck tattoos and shit too. Like every person that was like farming people to go into their host clubs were Yakuza, okay? And it literally felt probably 100 times safer than just walking into a fucking 7-Eleven, okay? In America. Like, it's so funny. It's so funny to think like the most dangerous area full of like gang activity is still infinitely more safe. You know why? Because they don't have fucking guns. Not everybody has literal actual guns on them at all times. Like when no one is strapped, when ostensibly no one is strapped, okay? Like, not saying that the Yakuza don't have guns. Of course they do. But, like, they're not open carrying in the same way that you see motherfuckers in America, okay? So most people, the average person, including cops, don't have guns on them. They have batons. They might have a taser. They might have knives, but they don't have fucking guns. So there's an element of safeness that immediately you feel, that I especially felt being like a bigger dude too, ultimately. I'm not talking about cops carrying knives. I'm talking about cops carrying batons and tasers, and then, you know, people that want to do like fucked up shit would have knives at the most. Safety? Question mark. More guns equals safety, man. Yeah, that's why America is famously the most safe country on the planet. You mean katanas, not knives, right? No, they have knives, bro. What do you mean? They're not fucking running around with a katana. Motherfuckers used to constantly walk into the store, used to work out with guns in their waistband. That's why we need to arm the teachers, janitors, and bus drivers. I agree. So, for the record, like, that is a main component of this. The other component of it is that there's, you know, guns everywhere. That's dangerous. But then there's also a lot of poverty and socioeconomic conditions, your material conditions, create an environment where violence and violent crimes are infinitely more likely to occur. And in a country where there is massive income inequality, there's massive income inequality like the United States of America, there's going to be a lot of violent crime that happens. That's how this works.